All right, everybody. Mark Burgess here, Big East Bass Fishing, bringing you another video, and I really appreciate everybody's support. Taking time out of the day to watch the video, subscribe to the channel. It's growing. Had a great past month or so with the growth of the channel, and I really appreciate it. Thanks, many thanks. All right, so today I want, like the title says, I want to talk about co-anglers, okay? And this topic has come up numerous times. I've talked about it in the past, but there's been a couple things that have come to light in the last several weeks or so that I felt needed to be talked about because it's, in my opinion, it's added to the co-angler discussion, okay? The first is, I saw some people talking about being a co-angler on the back of the boat with the boater or the pro using front-facing sonar. Okay, so, and where that puts the co-angler in that situation. Not unlike somebody, a boater, fishing for spawners, okay? So it can be real lonely back there in that situation. So I'd like to have some feedback from some guys that have fished on the back of the boat when the boater has been basically staring at a screen the entire day, chasing fish down, okay, and how they dealt with it and what they ended up doing in that situation, and what are their thoughts about that going forward. The other one was, it might have been the U.S. Open or the tournament after that, right after that, that one Bass had, where their format is a combined weight, co-angler and pro, to determine the winner. I'm not sure about all the regular tournaments, but the U.S. Open, that's the format. And one of those tournaments, and, pardon me, I don't have the exact tournament, was the co-angler, the winning co-angler won that event without catching a single fish. Okay, so the boaters did well enough for the 2 or 3 days. Again, he shared in that weight for him to win the co-angler side of that. Okay, so I want to get some feedback on that, what your thoughts are about that. I think that format could come into play here in the future, and that's kind of why I want to talk about it a little bit. So, I mean, a little history about co-anglers. From my perspective, when I started, it was the Bassmaster Invitationals. Okay, prior to the Opens, it was pro on pro. Most of the guys fishing the Invitationals were boaters or aspiring pro fishermen, and you had to negotiate in the morning or the night before whose boat you were taking, whose fish you were starting on first. The plan was to have, split your day, 4 hours each on your own fish, your own spots, okay? And then, of course, but a lot of things could happen during the day. You could catch your boater's fish, or they could catch your fish. Maybe your boater's fish, they weren't there, they weren't biting, and so you went to your fish earlier. I mean, vice versa. So a lot of things could happen there. So a few co-angles, but not many. So then the 150s, BP Top 150s, I believe they had co-anglers. And then in 06, Bass started the Elite Series, basically doing away with co-anglers and putting marshals in the boat. Okay, so the Opens went forward with co-anglers. And, that was, depending on, the day or the person, for the most part, went really well. Okay, there's been, obviously guys talking about, co-angler caught my fish. They altered the course of the day for the boater, who was supposedly a professional, and the co-angler not. So that was the discussion about how a co-angler could affect the outcome of the event for the professional. Those are some of the conversations that have happened in the past. On the other side, FLW, at the time they had the BFLs, and so you had boater and non-boater, okay, a pro and co-angler, and it worked really well. I saw numerous co-anglers come up through the ranks of FLW. Their program for co-anglers, in my opinion, was the best. Okay, because I saw a lot of guys start as a co-angler on the BFLs, fish that for a few years, get confidence, get experience, get some finances in order, buy a boat, and then move up. They would fish at the BFL level as a boater, and then at the time, around 99 to 2000, they started with the Everstart series. I fished the first ever Everstart series, Eastern Everstart series, for FLW. And so they would continue to be a co-angler on that series while they were a boater on the BFL. And then you had the FLW tour. Okay, so as they got more experience, then they moved up to the Everstarts or the Raybacks or whatever you want to call that next level, whatever they called it at the time. And they would fish as a boater now on the BFL and that next level, and then they would fish as a co-angler on the FLW tour level. And all the while they would continue to learn from these pros, and they got really, really good. I mean, there was some co-anglers on tour, on the FLW tour, that would just flat out, just whoop your butt from the back of the boat. And, everybody kind of knew who they were and stuff. But the other side of that is, I mean, they brought a lot to the table. I mean, a lot of those guys got to the point, they're like professional co-anglers, if you will. If you were struggling, or your fish weren't cooperating, maybe the weather patterns changed, wind blew it out, or the water got muddy, whatever it was, those guys would have fish of their own. Okay, so a lot of guys benefited from having an educated co-angler on their boat and salvaged the day. Almost looked at it like a team event. Okay, so now, I mentioned, a co-angler fishing during the spawn. Okay, it can be frustrating as to be the co-angler in that situation. Spawn only lasts for so long, though. Okay, so, the pro's got to do what he's got to do to catch fish, push fish in the boat. Okay, so he's trying to win money. He's trying to gain points. He's trying to qualify for the next deal. So, and the co-anglers, some of them are doing really well in the tournament. They want to continue to have an opportunity to catch fish and do well in that tournament. So you ran into that situation as well. But now we have front-facing sonar. So now, in addition to the spawn, which you may or may not be using front-facing sonar all that much, but now you have front-facing sonar that the boater is now fixated on hunting down particular fish or schools of fish, looking for fish and targeting them from the bow of the boat, and it's next to impossible for the co-angler. He can't see the screen, nor is it cool to cast up over the boater's shoulder. So what is a guy to do? Okay, what's a person to do? So that's something that I want to talk about. If co-anglers could reach out and give me their feeling on it, on what's happened up till now, how they feel about fishing behind somebody using forward-facing sonar, where does that leave them? Now, MLF now has this, this 150, I think it's an invitational series or something like that, or individual series. Not 100% sure, but it's, now you get, a whole series where guys are fishing by themselves. All right, and bass has always been about the Pro-Am format, a lot like golf, where you're signing your group's scorecards, that person didn't break any rules, and they won fair and square, or their score's legit, and it's reciprocal, so that's kind of what the co-angler and the pro, boater and non-boater, do. They basically, they're policing themselves in that situation. All very different from a team format, okay, where you're fishing as one. Okay, so, in a team format, if somebody doesn't necessarily cheat or maybe break a rule, I mean, does that stay between them? Do they bring it to the tournament director's attention. You know, the Pro-Am format, Bass designed that to basically police the sport, keep everybody on the up and up. Okay, so a little bit different differences between, you know, team tournaments obviously and Pro-Am format. So now we have individual events on a higher level, if you will, than say a club event. Okay, so let me know your thoughts. Anxious to really hear what you have to say on the subject, and as always, I appreciate you tuning in and watching, and I love the comments. All right, we'll see you out there.